Shredded Cels, episode 14. I am your host, Alex Schmitz, and with me here today is Jeremy Zajac.
Hi, how's it going?
Clara Heimberg?
Yeah, you got Heimberger.
Heimberger. I'm sorry.
Gee, Alex, you had to pause to even think about it. You didn't even get it right. Great.
I'm sorry.
We're off to a rousing start.
I forgive you.
I'm sorry. And Andrew Gleason
Hey, what's up?
and Kenneth McNulty.
We blabbed about Mars.
I can't do an Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
Well,
I
he
feel
can't.
alienated.
He can't do a normal person's impression.
Hey,
so
he
feel
wasn't
bad.
an alien. He was in Predator. Get it right.
All right. And
God.
we
Good stuff.
Just come on.
I'm leaving.
We here
So
are
sorry.
we are here are Shredded Cels. We are an anime podcast that's part of TechEds, which is a video game, media, movie organization within AVW, a video production organization here on campus at Ohio University.
It's beautiful stuff.
That's like the fourth level of stuff you just said.
I know. I
We're
have,
like that many levels.
I have to
down.
be very complex so our listeners understand the complexity of what we do.
Don't you usually do this at the end of the podcast?
We're four
No,
levels.
actually, I do it at the beginning. Last time I did it at the end because I forgot.
Oh, Alex.
I thought you guys
So-
wanted to. I don't know.
I know for shame. So we'll start out like we always do with what animation we've watched since we were last here 2 weeks ago. Kenneth, why don't you start?
Well, thanks to you, Alex. It ruined my life. I've been watching Fate Zero, and I absolutely love it, so it's fantastic.
Well, that's good. How many episodes in are you?
3.
3. Okay. Nice. I think I'm at episode 22.
Well, you are an
21.
overachiever.
It's true. I've gotten pretty addicted to it. It's very
It's really
good.
good. Yeah,
So hardcore.
Anything else that you've been watching?
The Community doesn't really count as animated, but I've been watching that show because it's hilarious.
Yeah, it doesn't quite count for our purposes.
Wait, that
It's still
came
a show I've
back?
been watching. They have animated segments, so.
Okay. Well, we'll let it slide then. How about you, Andrew?
Young Justice came back on, and I have a serious love for that show.
I've seen some clips of it, but I haven't really taken the time out to watch it. Is it like Justice League and those types of shows?
It is like it's like a cross between Justice League and Teen Titans. So that's like my childhood right there.
I don't know. I always preferred Justice League myself. Teen Titans was really good.
No,
but Justice League was. I always thought it was
Well-
just heads and shoulders above.
Oh no, it
Teen
definitely.
Titans.
Oh,
I was
it
in
definitely
love
was.
with Teen
but,
Titans.
Teen Titans.
Again, I
was-
love Teen
Oh my
Titans.
God.
I just thought that Justice League was just a better show.
Oh no, Young Justice definitely takes like the plot lines of like Justice League, and it's gotten really like dark this latest season.
I remember seeing a picture on the internet. Apparently, lately. Oh my God! Wow! I remember seeing a picture on the internet lately. It was a still from one of the. I guess it was one of the more recent episodes. It shows how all the older heroes were like congratulating the younger ones, and then it just shows Batman. Haha! See you guys later.
It does look like a good show because I used to watch
Batman.
Justice League.
It's great. I love it. So
That's cool. I'm not, from my perspective, I watched a little bit of the Justice League show, but it was more Teen Titans for me.
I probably
I
watched
watched
Teen
the crap
Titans,
out of
too.
both. So
Love Teen Titans.
I love Teen Titans.
I think
Smells
Teen
like
T-
heresy.
Come on.
I think
Raven
Teen
and
Titans
Beast
was
Boy
on
forever.
more.
Cyborg was the
I think
best.
that's why like I
I miss
watched
him.
it more.
Yeah.
I hated Beast Boy as a character.
When-
There,
I
I'm throwing it
was
right
so
out.
bad for him.
No, earlier episodes I couldn't stand him. As the story progressed, though, he became more likable.
Oh, yeah.
But earlier on, I just kind of want to just punch him in his green face.
He's
over and
got
over
that
until he
thing
stopped
with
moving.
the Terra, and then later Raven.
I hated that.
Oh,
I
come
didn't
on.
like
I
Clara.
genuinely.
He got so screwed in that though.
Oh, I don't disagree. He did,
was
but
depressed.
still, I didn't like. I just thought that was really just tacked on. As far as characters go, I think like everyone else, my favorite character was Cyborg.
That's what I'm saying. Cyborg's
I
the best.
have to go.
Raven
Robin.
was my favorite.
Robin.
had Sonic.
Love Robin.
Raven was entertaining. I'll give her that much. She was
She was
very
cynical.
deadpan.
Yeah,
she was very deadpan, and I really appreciated that. I also didn't much care for Starfire. It's not. It's not because I didn't. I don't know what it was. It just she kind of annoyed me at times.
I could see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
That's sort of part of her personality. She's the naive,
Space lady.
spacey chick.
Spacey.
Ha. In more ways than one.
Ha.
Oh, it's because she's from space.
She's blowing out the mics, aren't you, Jeremy?
Yep.
Sorry about that, listeners. So yeah, Clara, what have you been watching?
I've been rewatching Code Geass because I
Zing.
never finished watching the second season, so I want to get myself
Just-
reoriented with it. Well, I feel like I have an obligation to finish it because I kind of watched the last episode before I finished
Have you
watching the
what?
second one.
Do you know how it ends?
I do know how it ends.
Okay, then I'm going to spoil it. Well, listeners, turn it off for a second. Essentially, oh god, I can't. The prince's half brother ends up trying to conquer the Earth by using a floating Disneyland that craps nukes.
Oh, okay.
That's a brilliant plan. I don't even
mean,
know
like,
what. No, that sounds awesome. I
Does
don't know
Mickey
what you're
Mouse
complaining
laugh
about.
every time he drops a bomb?
No. It's like a Doctor Strangelove. He's got the hat. He's like, oh.
Oh my god, I can't think of a better way to describe what this thing is.
That
it's
is
a floating
hilarious.
Disneyland
I mean,
that craps nukes.
I watched the first 3
That's
episodes
awesome.
and I bought a wall scroll because I'm like, this is pretty cool, but I didn't watch anything past.
Well, I mean, like, I always like found it like kind of funny. How, like, I would always notice different voice actors often in different animes, like
True
how
skills.
Lelouch is Ichigo, how Lloyd is Gaara, and so that was fun
Wait,
for me.
Lloyd from
Code Geass
Oh, I didn't
is
know
Gaara.
that. That's
he.
very different characters.
I
He's
know.
got
I
voice.
love how he does his different voices, and like you can kind of tell sometimes it like sneaks a little bit of that
What was it?
raspiness in there. But
Matt said on, I think it was on the last podcast, that Steve Blum, who's the voice of Spike Spiegel, and Amon from Korra, he's got this
Yeah.
really deep, gruff voice. He's the voice of Liron, the sort of gay mechanic character from Gurren Lagann.
really?
Yeah.
This just in. Steve Blum is secretly in every animated cartoon ever. Even going back to the 1930s, he's somehow in every single one.
I'd actually believe that because
I can see it.
He's actually a time traveling voice actor.
Whoa.
his voice travels through time.
He just says a line, it travels back through time because it's so awesome.
Exactly.
That too.
What's up? Random in the 1930s.
What does that mean?
Who knows? All right. Anything else, Clara?
I've been reading this new series in the Halloween section of the website I go to. It's called Suicide Island, and it's pretty scary. Well,
Is
not
it-
scary, but I mean,
Is it a manga?
it's a manga, yeah.
Sounds
Like I've been like
entertaining.
in the storyline.
Entertaining.
Apparently, like attempts of suicides have been high in Japan. Not really, but in the story. So they're tired
I
of.
think they have been.
Yeah, Japan
And
has
then-
Well, I
the
mean,
highest
like-
suicide rate.
I know, but like in
I'd
the
actually believe
comics
that.
specifically, they have like a disclaimer at the bottom saying this isn't actually really happening. But I mean,
I mean, probably the scale the manga is.
Yeah.
The fact that then again, the fact they actually had to print that probably shows that.
Well, I mean, I'm not
That
saying there
there's
isn't,
something
but I mean,
going
it's
on?
not to the degree that's in
Yeah, yeah,
the series.
Oh, clearly not.
But like, they take all these people who have attempted suicide, have them sign death certificates, and then they just drop them all on these islands.
What?
And then,
What is
well,
it?
this one island, which is Suicide
a-
Island.
Is it like, okay, fight to the death or try
No,
to
like
survive?
they just kind of like leave
Battle
them there
Royale?
because they're technically dead because they signed death certificates. So I mean, like
So it's
they
like they commit
are
suicide.
dead
how does
to
one
Japan.
sign their own?
Wait.
I
death
mean, like they
certificate?
signed something that like makes them dead to the world. Like they're physically dead.
Or legally at
Legally
least.
dead.
Can-
So like if they were to come back to Japan, like they have boats patrolling, making sure these people do not come back to Japan because they do not want them.
They don't want these
They
suicidal
don't want them. Like
people.
a couple people tried to get back and they were shot at, and a lot of them were killed. But like it's
Say
like
they
everyone
did.
on the island is either completely crazy or like trying to find out how to survive, which is weird because they try to destroy themselves earlier. So like it's pretty cool like watching the development of like them being like, oh, we actually kind of want to live. And the
look
main
at that.
character just got a puppy, and it's
On
really
Suicide
really
Island?
cute.
Well, then he
yeah,
can't
there
commit
was
suicide now.
it was actually a no
happier.
man's island where they put a bunch of criminals before, and there's one survivor now who like ran away from all the fighting. He lived in the mountains, and he had a dog, and it had puppies, and so the main character got a puppy,
Wait.
and it made me happy.
That's fantastic.
You know what it sounds like to
Solid.
me? Sounds like that puppy's gonna die real soon.
No,
Just
the
to-
puppy is it's a hunting dog. He helps
He gonna be
the main
fine.
character hunt.
He-
He's growing
nobody
very well.
ever
I'm
killed
scared
the
that he's
dog.
gonna die, though. I'm really really scared he's
Oh, never
gonna
mind.
die.
Yeah, he's gonna die.
Yeah.
As long as it's not like I'm Legend, he'll be fine.
Oh,
Yeah. That was so sad.
You know,
I
it's
cried.
it's even sadder in the actual book because the dog he doesn't even make friends with the dog. He just pretty much has to kill it right off the bat because it has the disease already.
Wow.
I'm glad the movie portrayed it in that way. Then
actually,
Yeah.
no, because I think it makes it worse in the movie because
No,
he
no.
actually has that relationship with the dog.
You'd think that, except in the book, it's like this almost that little tiny bit of hope that I'm gonna get some companionship, and then nope,
No.
nope, you got
Nope.
nothing.
Not forever.
Nope. Chuck Testa.
You know, that actually kind of works. So that's why I'm not reaching across.
It really
like-
does. I didn't think of that.
Tessa actually take care of the dog, then leave. Chuck tested that dog.
No, but Chuck Tessa doesn't taxidermize pets.
That is true.
I wonder if that guy's business went up like incredibly after the video went viral.
I would not doubt it.
First time I saw that, I couldn't handle myself.
Did you see the auto-tune version?
Oh, I think I have
I
seen
need
that
to.
actually.
It's wonderful.
Anywho.
Yeah, getting a little sidetracked there.
Your turn.
Jeremy, what have you been watching?
Chuck Tessa.
Since I actually was on a podcast before anyone, more recently than anyone else here. Actually, no, except for
Clara.
Clara. Oh my God, I apologize. I'm
It's
as bad
okay.
as Alex now.
It's okay.
Hey, at least I remembered her first name, all right?
Yeah.
That's the easy part.
Okay, I'll give you that much. I'll give you that much.
All right.
But you're still blonde. Anyway.
Just so everyone knows, I'm not actually blonde. My hair's more brown than blonde. Although I was actually born blonde. I've seen pictures of me when I was young, and I have like bleached
So you're
blonde.
covering
This
it up,
is-
is what you're saying.
This is the most
Oh.
awkward episode of Shredded Cells ever. I'm just going to throw that right out there.
Really?
I'm enjoying
Challenge
myself.
accepted.
I'm just telling the truth about myself.
He's horribly
Why don't
blonde,
you guys
guys.
accept me for who I am?
He's so blonde.
Because no one loves you. Anyway.
Damn.
That
Anyway,
escalated quickly.
I really haven't watched anything since the last episode because I've been busy with exams and whatnot.
Well, okay. When I say last episode, why don't you talk about what you've seen since two weeks ago?
Okay. I've been watching Fate Zero like everyone else.
Bazing.
I've been keeping up with Adventure Time because,
Yeah.
again, as I had this conversation with Alex earlier, I'm a 3-year-old masquerading as a 19-year-old masquerading as a 23-year-old.
Dude, I'm going as Finn for Halloween. I love
Oh my
Adventure
god,
Time.
this is gonna be adorable.
What else?
Is
Oh
anyone
yeah.
gonna be Jake?
I need to find a Jake. Chris can be Jake.
Also, I've been keeping up with South Park because it's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
That and what was it? No, the most recent episode was pretty funny. Anyway, let's get on to the actual show now, shall we?
Wait, what have you been watching, Alex?
But
Basically, I've been watching Fate Zero, quite like a number of other people on this podcast I
a pretty
mentioned.
good show.
I'm near the end now. Like we're getting to the setup for the final battle, and I'd say I'd probably put it like near the top, however you want to put it, top or bottom, of my like top 10 favorite anime like TV shows, somewhere near number 10, number 9, because it's impressed me in many ways.
Money.
But we'll see how it
battle.
We'll see how it ends because I've heard from the anime review that we watched that the ending isn't very good because it
'Cause
has
it's
to
the next
lead
series.
into the series that
It
was
should
made
have been
before.
a standalone, in my opinion. That would have been so much better as a standalone one season.
Apparently, Fate.
People die when they are killed.
Yes,
No.
apparently that's a line of dialogue from Fate Stay Night. I think that's what it's called. The anime that was made before this, but that actually takes place chronologically ahead of Fate Zero, so they have to obey the timeline if they want to make it all cohesive.
People die when they were killed.
Continuity. So much fun.
Indeed. Okay, so
Indubitably.
before we get into our topics for this week, which is the film Jin-Roh, the Wolf Brigade,
Woo!
I thought we'd talk about a cool piece of news that I learned about yesterday because it happened yesterday. Has anybody here besides me subscribed to Shonen Jump Alpha?
Nope.
Nope.
no.
Oh, okay. Well, for those who don't know, Shonen Jump is the big shonen action manga comic in Japan, and it's been out in the U.S. for a long time. And now they're in now they're digital instead of print, and it's $26 for a year subscription, to weekly manga, and they've got all the big series: Naruto, Bleach, One Piece. They've got Toriko, some good series in there. So it's been pretty good. It has been on a 2-week delay, so it comes out in Japan, and then 2 weeks later it comes out in English in the Shonen Jump Alpha. But on Wednesday at New York Comic Con, Viz Media's executive vice president of publishing, Alvin Liu, apparently said that it will be day and date with Japan very soon. So sometime here in the near future, it's going to be coming out on the same day as it does in Japan. Is that ducks?
No.
Was that ducks?
That was me, summoning my familiar. Anyways, continue.
Oh.
Definitely not your iPhone.
What is your familiar?
You'll find out. Hey, Jeremy, what's going on over there? Oh, God.
Jeremy's giving him the evil
This table
face.
flips.
Ooh.
This flips.
Yes. So,
It hurts, Jeremy. The more you do it, it hurts.
Jeremy is very upset at Kenneth right now.
It's just ducks. But that's my favorite.
Actually, the manga that they have are the ones I mentioned. Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexals, which
What?
What is that?
What?
It's the newest Yu-Gi-Oh! spinoff.
That just sounds like something
No.
awful.
It's awful from what I've
Sounds
heard.
terrible.
I refuse.
There's something called Takama Gahara. No idea what that is.
Watch your language.
And a thanks. And a manga called Cross Manage, which is apparently a lacrosse sports manga.
Wow. Like the,
Oh.
like the Prince of Tennis kind of thing?
I guess. So honestly, I usually only read Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece on these things. But the fact that it'll be
You still need Bleach.
yeah.
Okay, I'm a little surprised.
Yeah, it's very up and down. Some chapters are actually really good, and others are
The
awful.
Are the Bound Arc all over again?
Well, the Bound Arc wasn't in the manga. That's an anime.
Is it
thing.
real? I did not know that because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a fan of Bleach.
Who would have thunk
we
it?
No.
So I am curious. Now that it is going to be coming out day and date, with the online versions, that get illegally posted by the scanners, scanlations, I think is the term for these manga people. They basically will take the comics from Japan and scan them and translate them and do it all very fast. And in a few hours of when it came out in Japan, it'll be online
That's
in
fantastic.
English for people to read. It's cool, but it's obviously piracy.
No.
Yeah.
Hey, man. If Luffy can be a pirate and get away with it, anybody can.
There you go.
Come on, man.
Oh,
See?
Jeremy, you're not going to sing the song?
No, because I feel like I do it too often.
You do it a bit.
Yar,
A bit.
yar.
But, shush. And I admit, basically what I've done to sort of make myself legitimate is I bought the Shonen Jump Alpha, but usually I'll read the scanlations, and then 2 weeks later I'll read it in English.
So that's how you make up for it.
Yeah, so I am supporting the official release while also reading the day and date stuff because I want to read it the day it comes out. But now that it is coming out day and date with Shonen Jump Alpha, I will stop going to the scanlation sites. So I'm curious, are any of you guys interested enough in manga to put down the $26 for a year's subscription now that it's day and date?
I might, but the website I go to is called thespectrum.net, and that's where I read my manga. So I mean,
Shameless plug.
it's just I love it. What are you doing? Anyways, so I've been getting it's always updated on Wednesdays, and so I read it every Wednesday. Every week it's updated. So sometimes it's updated on Tuesdays, which is a nice surprise. But
Hey,
I
for
mean,
yayo, that's fantastic.
so I've been reading what's been updated lately. I don't know how close that is to being in Japan because I don't care all that much, but I mean,
You still get it.
I still get it.
That's
So
what
that's
matters.
all I care about is that I
That's
can
all
read
that
it
matters.
every Wednesday.
I haven't read manga for years, so I'm going to have to say no, unfortunately.
I see. Anybody else? Nope.
I read so many comic books, I don't even have time to read.
That's true. I see you. You're always posting comic book pictures and reviews. For
Yeah,
the
I do
blog.
that. I try to do that every week, so
Nice.
as my thing, my contribution.
All
to
right.
this.
So now that we're done with the little
Feet haven't put up.
Jeremy's getting comfortable over here.
Let's do this.
So now that we are done with the news segment, we'll move into our main discussion for this week, which is the film Jin-Roh, the Wolf Brigade. I believe it was released in 1999, 1995.
I think it was 99.
I think it was 99. I think
thought
you're
it was
right.
99.
99.
And it was an English dub. We actually watched it on Hulu for free. It's all up
Watch
there.
it, guys.
With 9
With a
commercial
lot
breaks.
of lot of commercials.
27.
But you know what? Free anime
Not like
online
accounting.
for
It wasn't really free.
well, no, because okay, fine. But we didn't have to pay any money. We just had to pay our time for advertisements. But
Sold ourselves to the system.
I'm curious, since there will be spoilers, by the way, for the entirety of the movie, so be aware of that. I'm curious, what did you guys think of the opening sequence of the movie? Like you have the opening sort of monologue, and then you get this riot scene and following this chick carrying the bomb around. What did you guys think of sort of that unorthodox opening to this movie?
Well, personally, I liked it a lot because for that whole... I can't remember. What's the word for it again? Like having an opening that gives you all the information?
It depends on. Basically, what they gave us was an exposition opening.
Exposition, that's it. And see, I like that in movies. Like, for instance, Star Wars does it. And I just think it's cool because especially with that movie, you need it. Because without that, you could piece it together if you saw the beginning, if they did it a little differently. But doing it that way just means you can go right into the movie knowing what you need. And the opening scene, the ride scene, was cool because it's very dynamic to start off. So it felt like high octane throwing Molotov cocktail action. And I liked it because it painted a clear picture of what was happening.
Yeah.
So I liked it.
Anybody have any other opinion?
I like the girl running through the street part because it kind of seems like she's gonna be the main character for a
Yeah,
little
that's what I
while,
thought.
and then they kind of like misdirect you in that, and then that's like
no.
the start.
Oh.
It's very shocking too.
Hey,
so.
hey, you know how you're getting kind of connected to this character? Yeah, she's now a smear on the wall. Ha ha!
How about
Yeah,
no?
she exploded.
But she introduced the next main character who stays that way for the rest of the movie
Yeah.
because she almost exploded him.
Well,
Yeah.
see, that's what I like though, because I'm like, it's very shocking though to see like a kid commit suicide like in the first 5 minutes of a movie. I'm like, that's a shot that grabs your attention. It really holds it there.
Yeah, no, I actually quite like it because obviously I'm a film major, and I actually found it very intriguing how it sort of misleads you because for a minute there, she hands off the bomb to like just a random dude, and I thought, okay, now we're following this guy. Is he actually the protagonist? But then he goes and throws the bomb and disappears for the rest of the movie. So not so much with him. And I think it's a cool. I think it just shows the power of the medium. Like, had the movie been about the protesters, we would have sympathized with her and been like, oh, those guys in the black armor and with the red eyes and everything, they're obviously evil. They're the bad guys, But then it turns out, oh, wait, they're actually the good guys. They're the people we're supposed to be rooting for. And the rioters are the bad guys causing this strife.
Even though shiny red eyes is normally indication of bad guy, but
Yeah,
I mean,
in this time, it was just an indication of
Cliches.
awesome.
in night
Pretty
vision,
much.
You're just stereotyping. They looked awesome.
they did look awesome, but they also looked evil.
Well, and they're supposed to, obviously.
Well, yes.
To mislead.
Uh-huh.
Their armor again was based off of Nazi stormtrooper armor.
And they did very well, like changing it to their
And
universe.
it looked good for
No,
that.
They were wolves in human skin.
I did like that. And what you were mentioning, Kenneth, that was also something I thought about as far as like how exposition should be delivered in a film. Like, do you guys prefer it when it's, sort of all in one chunk, at the beginning of the movie, sort of like Jin-Roh was or Star Wars, or like Lord of the Rings, it starts with the flashes of like how the rings were made and this whole battle at the end of the Second Age that, where Sauron was killed, that leads up into the current movie? Or do you prefer it to be sort of thing where you just get to our main characters, you get to the story quicker, and then they intersperse exposition through lines of dialogue or things like that?
Personally, I feel like in this movie, it benefited more from the early exposition because without it, I would have been really lost. Like, why is this setting so weird? What's going on? Even if they had like interspersed in the like that whole 3-minute chunk of what the hell was going on, had that been interspersed throughout the movie, I don't think it would have affected me as much. It would have made less sense, I feel, because it would just be kind of like really random. Like, what is going on right now? I don't get this.
Mm-hmm. I could see that.
Like
Yeah.
sometimes, you can go.
No, sorry. go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. Like, so for some anime that I've watched, I like it when they get to the main characters because when I'm learning about the story along with them, it makes me want to stick with it so that I can find out too.
But
with Jin-Roh, it worked really, really well in the beginning because if not, I would have been completely
Well,
lost.
It's a complex historical setting, so I think
Right.
it works in
Yeah.
this case.
that's. I'm sorry, Kenneth. I'll let you know.
No, it's fine. I was just saying I like it depending on the movie or like the show. It works either way because I don't like more than one over the other. Just some, like this, for instance, needed that one specifically.
I think the reason that it works so well, though, in Jin-Roh is because it's not really developing anything about the characters themselves. It's just explaining the world they live in and what's going on. If all of this would have been information that the characters already knew because they've been living there, we're just being brought up to speed, and I can live with that.
Yeah, it always feels a little strange in, more often in TV shows really than movies when characters are like, and this is the world of such and such, and there are 5 different nations, and this is how the politics of everything work.
And everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
Exactly.
Fire Nation!
When they really, if they were actually characters within this world, they would already know that and wouldn't need to say it. It's,
True facts.
It's a pet peeve of mine in certain movies. And then one thing I thought was interesting was the chick that we meet. She's at the girl who committed suicide at her I don't know what you call it. It wasn't a graveyard. It was just a.
That I believe was the graveyard.
Well, it was.
Well,
It was
like
the
there's
place
anything to
where.
bury.
Yeah,
it was a mausoleum. It was more like a
mausoleum.
Yeah.
That's right. Because it was just like her ashes or whatever in a box.
Ashes?
It's funny.
There were ashes left.
Instant cremation.
Oh dear.
We took it there. But I didn't actually clue in. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, which is probably true because it's a complex movie. There's a lot to digest. I didn't realize until I read the Wikipedia page that the girl wasn't actually her sister. She just happened to look a lot like her.
It's actually said in the movie. Again, this is a thing though with this movie. It's a great movie, but you've really got to pay attention to all of the dialogue, or you're going to be lost.
Actually, I'm right. I think he's right. I think they did say that at one point. I think they
said
at
it
near the end that they picked her because she
looks so much
like her.
They'd have to tell you.
And
'cause
that
if
was
they
like
didn't-
part of the plan was to trick him.
I do remember them mentioning that. I guess I just thought that she was like, she just happened to look similar to her sister, like almost like a twin or something.
Yeah, because that's what they. I mean, obviously leads you to believe from the beginning.
Yeah,
It
because
ties you
she's
in.
even saying like, "Oh, I think mother liked her more than me" and stuff like that. But
You're like,
even
okay.
she's a good liar.
Yeah.
I don't know. Fusei was a better liar.
He kind of was, yeah.
As it turned out.
He was
Yeah.
the best of liars.
Oh, yes.
because he had no emotion, so
He
it's just
never
like,
showed it.
No, the best part was he
Never played poker with him.
We'll get
Yeah, seriously.
we'll get back to that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll backtrack
One other
that.
thing I actually learned from the Wikipedia page was this is actually based on a manga by Mamoru Oshii, who's the director of Ghost in the Shell.
Oh, I love that show.
You know that actually explains it. The art styles actually do. They seem kind of. I don't.
But he gave it, apparently, from what I read, he wanted to do like live action version of it, but he had done some previous versions of this. Apparently, it's like a 4-part story in the manga, and this is like one of the parts. And the previous ones hadn't done well, so they didn't let him do a live action version. So he hired this other guy who was his friend or whatever to make an animated version of it.
I mean, yeah, I know it's not the same. I know that the Oshii didn't. That's not his last name, is it?
No, I think that is his name.
I apologize, listeners. I actually don't. Sometimes forget how they do the naming systems in different countries. I apologize.
It's confusing.
I apologize for being an ignoramus, but anywho, I know he didn't draw it, but it looks a lot like his work.
Well, what it reminded me of, honestly, was some of the work of Satoshi Kon, because he has a lot of pretty much all of his films are set in the real world, but then he usually introduces some sort of fantastical element into it, like in Paprika or Millennium Actress or Perfect Blue, Paranoia Agent, all those shows. But he has a very realist sort of look, and it's more of a limited color palette. Like this movie had a lot of, grays and browns. It's not a really colorful movie like a Miyazaki film, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
That's just it, though. It's supposed to give you like this sense of like hopelessness.
And be
It's
dull.
got that dark,
gray.
gritty feel to it.
Exactly.
So.
It fits the world.
One thing, can I just point out, though, I know you may have this as a discussion point, but the animation was some of the best I've ever seen in an animated movie. Like, they hit their eye for detail was, like,
Oh no! Yeah.
disturbingly
It was.
awesome.
It was really good. The water,
Like, facial expressions, everything.
facial expressions, or the lack.
It was, like,
thereof
synced so well with the words. It's almost, you could tell that,
Yeah,
speaking
stop
English
making
was
fun
not
of
what
that.
they
Oh.
originally was intended for. Because it was synced so well with Japanese.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Is like you could tell they redid it just
Yeah.
to.
I
I
mean,
know. I still thought it was really good. Done.
No, it was fantastic. I'm just saying they did it so well with the voice, like sync,
Yeah.
though. You could see how well they did it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, it looks pretty darn amazing for a 1999, show. Like, let's think. I think Cowboy Bebop, the movie, was like 2000, 2001.
I would put it around the same level as Cowboy Bebop, honestly.
I don't know if I'd go that far, just because Bebop has more. Well, for starters, I'm sure it had a lot bigger of a budget than this. But they also had more sort of muscle to flex as far as showing off the animation, because really, the movie has the cool riot scene at the beginning. And there's some training sessions, like when they're storming the training place and they're shooting like the practice bullets or whatever. And there's the fights near the end. But beyond that, it's a lot of just people sort of talking and not exactly the most, dynamic animation. It still looks good, it's still well animated, but it's just not, you get the really good, like, wow, that's amazing animation when you see like Spike Spiegel fighting Vincent in the Cowboy Bebop movie. These action bits are really where the animation shines.
Oh, that being said, again though, Cowboy Bebop is much more of an action film than Jin-Roh is.
No, that's true.
And that's not a knock against either one. I love Cowboy Bebop. I also love Jin-Roh. They're just two different types of films.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you have to be able to admire, like what you said, it's mostly talking, people interacting, but seeing what they do with that is fantastic. Working with like that for what it is, like a more serious.
Well, it was a very much a plot-based movie.
Yeah, which I love in a movie.
Right, like that's actually something I wanted to mention because I do, like you said, it's one of those movies where you really need to watch it like a couple times before you really start to get everything that's going on. And on the one hand, that's both a good and a bad thing because it means, that people, like when I was watching it, there were parts where I was lost, like when, you have the different members of the police and the military, all these leaders sitting in rooms and talking about various, politics and their plans and schemes and manipulations and all this. And it can get a little confusing, for a first-time viewer. But then again, I love more complex movies like, it's like something like Inception or Memento or The Prestige. A lot of Christopher Nolan movies are like that. And I really love how you can rewatch them a second time and get so much more out of them.
I would definitely have to agree.
Yeah,
Because I like movies
love
that bend your
complex.
mind. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was saying I love the whole complex movie thing, like because if you watch it, because it encourages you to watch it again and again, and you discover new things or new inklings. Like Firefly is a good example because if you rewatch it, like God, they were doing so much with that show. Mm-hmm. It was ridiculous.
That's like one thing I didn't realize. Like you said earlier that the rioters were actually the enemies all along.
The what?
You said like the
It was
rioters.
what were they called again? The People's Liberation Front?
Yeah,
Oh, right.
like they were the enemies all
the
along.
rioters. Okay.
I didn't know until you said that right now. Like I didn't realize
There
that.
really isn't a villain
I was
per
gonna
se
say
in
I
the
didn't
movie.
think.
Yeah.
I thought it was that morally gray thing.
Yeah, I mean that is true. I mean,
I
one
was
thing I
in-
find interesting about it is you get this like 10-minute long opening, and it's focusing on the rioters, and you think, oh, this is going to be the main focus of the movie.
Nope.
And then it just sort of they never really appear again. They are sort of the cause of why the police and the military are sort of cracking down and getting more intense, and trying to eliminate the special force or whatever. Causing this unrest, but they really only play a secondary role in the movie.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I like the fact that it's all like deceit. Like, she was set up to get him and he was all set up to do all of this. So it's like, yo, dog, I heard he like lying kind of deal.
Yo, dog.
It's fantastic. That's why the ending was just, I really liked how it ended. Like everything was exactly how it, in my mind, how it should have been. Now then after I realized how it started getting on that track. It was because I thought that the ending would have been different. Obviously, we'll discuss that later, but I really liked how it ended.
Yeah.
Like, there's always that cliche that the rebels are always the heroes because they're fighting the man, they're fighting the power. But in this movie, they weren't.
There's no heroes. There's no villains.
There was no hero.
There is just circumstance.
Yeah.
Just like the real world.
Well,
Lame
I personally
real world.
subscribe to the fact that there is good and evil in the world, but that's a whole discussion for a
Yes,
different day.
let's keep the philosophy out of it.
Yeah. We'll have the
Out of
philosophy
an
later.
AI.
Anime podcast.
So I'm sorry. It's not my fault. My familiar is getting really.
This familiar's getting active, folks.
Next time I'll just throw it. All right.
Keep your persona out of the room.
I'm so sorry, Jeremy. Don't hurt me.
One thing I'd be curious to hear your guys' opinions on is the whole Red Riding Hood motif that's running throughout the movie. I think it is cool, and I really liked it. I think the first time it started happening was during that training scene, and like she's narrating it as they're
Even before that, the Red Riding Hood thing was popping up right at the beginning of the movie.
With
Yeah,
the
'cause
girl in the red
the girl
coat.
that was carrying the bomb.
well,
that was
right,
like
right,
the
but
Totally
I
called
meant-
that.
Yeah, I know that. I meant I think the narration of the actual story starts then. I may be wrong about that.
Because she gives him the book in the beginning.
Right. So, I liked how it was working there because obviously it's this child story narration over this
they
brutal
use, like-
sort of training exercise.
It's a
yeah,
lot
that-
darker
that
than
was
the
really
one I
cool,
knew.
actually.
Grimm's fairy tale, which is what I
that part
like.
was really cool though. I
Yeah,
liked that.
I did like it there, but as the movie went on, like I started to feel like they were almost pushing it a little too hard. Like the narration comes up again and again, and then like the last line of the movie is like or when this is spoiling the end of the movie, by the way. But
Spoilers!
when he's about to kill her and she's like
Whoa.
reciting lines from the movie, And then I think even the boss of the Wolf Brigade says at the end, and then the wolf ate Little Red Riding Hood.
Everyone got together and had like a book club meeting. They're like, we're gonna read Red Riding Hood this week, guys.
Wait, she died?
I was actually
What? Whoa.
no. I was actually kind of. For those of you who didn't catch all of the exposition, a lot. If memory serves right, Alex, you were the one who looked at the Wikipedia stuff. It was Germany who helped out with the restructuring of Japan as opposed to America in the setting, correct?
Yes, that's the idea. It's 1950s.
Yeah,
So that's
if
the
nobody else
rewrite.
caught this, the name of it wasn't Little Red Riding Hood. It was Rotkäppchen was the name of the book, which is the German for Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so horrifically dark.
Is that not the Grimm's fairy tale version?
The
then?
Grimm
That's-
version is the German
That's
version.
what I thought.
Yeah,
I
that's what I thought.
Grimm
I thought
word,
that
yeah.
was the Grimm
That's your
version.
mother's flesh you're eating.
That was weird. Like the fox comes
Whoa.
in and says, like, I would
Whoa.
listen to a talking fox over a wolfish mother. I'm
That's
sorry.
your mother's blood you're drinking. The bird and the fox are talking to you, girl. Either you have mental issues,
Or get the hell out.
or there is something not right up in
Maybe
here.
she learned to not trust her schizophrenia. Maybe the voices inside the head had bad ideas.
I think in the story, like there was like something like she had never seen her mother. Like after she did something with the cloak, she was able to see her mother. So I don't know if she'd actually seen her mom before that point.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. The whole, I mean,
Her
So it's
grandmother,
like-
you mean?
Yeah, her grand, like whoever she was meeting or something.
yeah, if you actually break down the story, it's a little weird that she wouldn't notice a wolf was pretending
Yeah,
to be her mom.
especially when
No, she does notice. I mean,
not
what big
even
eyes you
remotely
have.
human shaped in the least.
Well, I mean, it makes for a good story.
yeah.
Well, what is it? This is a little bit of a sidetrack, but what is it about just fairy tales and like nursery rhymes and things? Their origins being super dark. Like
Best
I think it was only recently that I learned that Ring Around the Posies is actually
Ring Around the Rosie is about the Black Plague.
Yeah,
exactly.
Black
Think about the
Yeah,
about the
yeah, I knew
lyrics.
that.
Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. That's a.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
really
yeah.
think about it. There's a very unpleasant undertone.
I know, but
there.
of course I never realized that.
Our
when I
teachers
was a
broke it down
kid.
for us in like 7th grade. They're like, actually, posies what they used to cure the bubonic plague, and like went through all this stuff, and we were like, we're 7th graders.
Thanks
What
for
else is
ruining my
there?
childhood.
The original Cinderella.
yeah, I heard that.
oh,
when they
Little
found out Cels.
Mermaid.
Little Mermaid was
Aladdin.
Little Mermaid is the worst. Aladdin's uncomfortable, but Little Mermaid is horrifying.
Because her tail's split in half and turns into sea foam.
Yeah, in the end, she turns into sea foam,
And the
she
prince
will-
doesn't choose her.
No, and at the end, here's the really horrifying part.
The zinger.
Every time her soul cannot go to heaven for 100 years, and every time a child cries, it adds another year onto her sentence.
Oh,
Wow.
God.
And in the original
terrible.
in the original Hunchback of Notre Dame, doesn't the Hunchback die at the end?
He kills Esmeralda, and then
Crawls in her grave
and
and,
then
dies.
and starves next to her.
Yeah.
Disney lied to us.
Yeah,
Disney, I'm calling you out.
And then there's
for real.
Snow White.
Let's not get into that. Let's not even get into that
That
creepiness.
and Sleeping Beauty are awful. All of those.
Anyway.
Anyways,
I've never seen
So-
Sleeping Beauty all the way through.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, the
Why
fight
not?
at the end with the dragon, that was cool.
That was awesome.
So,
Great villain.
what do you guys think about Fusei as a character?
Well, personally, I enjoyed the movie. You know, I think it's a good movie that everyone should go see. What sort of the barrier that was keeping me from calling it a great movie was just that I didn't care about the characters.
Yeah.
Fusei is really unemotional, and there's little to like about him. And his relationship with the chick doesn't really have a whole lot of chemistry going for it.
There is a reason for that.
Well, I understand why he's like that, because obviously at the end you realize he's this member of the Wolf Brigade, and they've left their humanity behind, and they're just wolves and animals trying to survive and all that.
It's just that Fusei is simultaneously the best actor ever and a terrible actor. He's the best actor ever because he actually gives a really, everyone's convinced that, he's suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. However, he's also a terrible actor because he can only display one emotion at a time.
I liked in the end when he actually saw an emotion in him when she was screaming the Red Riding Hood at him, and then he was having this most hysterical face, and I liked that
Well,
because
that's because he was remembering his own humanity.
yeah, and I liked that though because
That's-
then he was human for a
Yeah.
little bit.
One thing I actually found interesting also, it was in the Wikipedia article, apparently in the original storyboards, they didn't have the scene where they run off to the carnival when they're on the run and they kiss. apparently that was added later to try to add more humanity to his character.
Romance.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was. I mean, I liked it though because stoic characters I always think are cool, and the fact that in the end, once again, you find out that he's really part of the Wolf Brigade, it makes perfect
And
sense.
he is the most awesomest character. Literally, he just suits up, and they just see him just kind of walk off, and he
That
just.
was
Sorry,
that
when
was
they shot
pretty
like
cool.
what is it? The grenade at him and just bounces off his shoulder, and all the bullets ricochet. He's like, "You think you're funny?" And then just guns them all down. That was
He mows
brutal.
them to. Oh my!
Yeah.
He
That's
just
how-
destroys them.
And then, for anyone who hasn't seen the movie, this is not an ultra-violent film, but what action scenes there are in the movie are done really well.
So much
guns
blood.
that guy down, like,
so much
yeah.
blood.
overkill.
Well, it definitely felt Terminator-esque.
Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with that?
No, there's not anything wrong
Terminator's
with that.
awesome.
Is it bad that when I was watching them getting shot, I was like, why isn't the water turning red? I don't know. That's
I was
something I,
imagining
noticed.
that,
like
actually.
the water wasn't turning red, and I was like,
his
Animation
rage kept it in
flaw.
place.
I don't know.
He was
Is it
so
bad
mad.
that
I
I
don't know.
noticed that?
They did show him though that the fact that instead of just pointing directly at the target with the machine gun, he actually started firing before then and just drew it up to them. So
That's
then
true.
I thought
Right.
that was pretty cool.
It's a bit
Yeah.
more realistic, I
An
suppose.
eye for detail once again.
Right.
I think I could live without the whole blood thing.
Yeah, I just imagine his, like I said, his
What?
rage kept the blood inside the body because they're too afraid to come out. Seeing that man walking down the hall like that.
No. The blood's scared. Like, no.
It's like, nope. But when he got his friend, quote, end quote, the one who tried to help him in the series and he eventually gunned him down at the end, that was so rewarding to see.
I thought that was
was.
hilarious though with the bullet that just bounced off his shoulder that just exploded.
Yeah, and it just goes behind
Yeah.
him. He's like, all right.
Well, to be fair,
Lighter.
that guy had a pretty cool gun because I thought it was just like a normal gun. He was just shooting a bullet, but it turns out it was like a grenade or
it's
something.
it was just a grenade launcher. But I just liked how maybe it was just me imagining this, but he always let the enemy shoot first, which I liked, and then he shot because they couldn't
It's like,
do
oh,
anything.
you think you have the upper hand?
You're
Come
funny.
on.
You're funny. You know that?
I was under the impression his friend, or the guy, I think the last guy with the gun, was gonna get
betrayer.
one lucky shot, but he, of course, he missed.
Well, I honestly thought that he was going to say something like to him before he killed him, but nope, he was
Nope.
just silent. Boom.
He
Which is
doesn't
cool.
say anything before he kills anyone. Even that girl, he doesn't say anything.
Yeah, he does.
He does?
I believe he says the word "why."
Oh, right.
Oh,
But not-
Are you
A lot of
talking? Are you
crying.
talking at the end of the movie?
At the end.
Yeah.
Oh,
end.
I thought you were talking at the beginning.
He
No.
doesn't kill the girl in the beginning.
He doesn't kill her in the beginning. She kills herself.
No, yeah, I know. That's
Like,
why I
we
was a little
rarely
confused
hear
there.
him talk, which
Yeah.
is also...
That's part of the thing, though. Again, he is a man. He's a wolf in a man's form. That's
Right.
the whole.
See, it's
that's
the
why
fact
he's
that a Red
so-
Riding Hood. Get it? Get it?
But that's what makes him, like... I couldn't, like, connect with him. Like,
You're not supposed to be
I
able
know,
to.
but, like, even...
Actually, if you can,
Well,
Like
that's a
any-
bigger issue. I think.
Like,
Any movie.
Like, I sort of agree with Clara. Like, I understand that's what they're going for, but then again, you do get war movies, which are very dark and bloody and, have characters that have very gray morality or are really hard asses, but yet you're able, I'm all right, I think, but you're able to connect with them, and the filmmakers go out of their way to show some part of them that you can admire or connect with,
Like the Hurt Locker.
Whereas with Fusei, I really don't feel like anything.
Exactly. That's what they were purposely aiming for. You're not supposed to connect with him whatsoever. They don't want you to connect with Fusei. Fusei is supposed to be a character that makes you uncomfortable. It's because he's not a person.
Yeah, so I mean, that's why I can see you could like it either way. Like, liking for the fact they did it that well, which I did, or not because you can't connect, which is the point, but I could see why people wouldn't enjoy that.
I can understand why they're doing that because it fits within the tone of the movie and makes sense with the story they're trying to tell. I guess it's just that I don't like characters who are so unemotional, so detached from their humanity. Like, I think you can have a character like that who's a villain or who's a side character, but to have it as your protagonist is a little bit different.
It almost goes with like going with that. I mean, he's not a villain, obviously, but I like villains for main characters, and I think it's really cool that they've taken a persona of a villain and then slapped on a
I
main
agree with that.
character.
Like shows like Death Note or Code Geass, I
Yeah,
really love those shows
it's awesome.
because they have villain protagonists, and those are always really fascinating.
I miss Death
That's
Note.
true.
I don't. You know what? As soon as Elle died, I just like, okay, this is the end of the series.
No.
No. I don't care that there's stuff beyond it. All that near crap,
I hate Nier. I hate Nier so
I hate,
much.
hate all that.
Wait.
Click. It's done.
It's decent. It's not as good as the L stuff, I agree. But the way it ends, the final few
very, very
episodes
end.
are really
Wait,
well
wait,
done.
wait.
It's obvious that the creators knew how they wanted to end it.
That's great, but you
I'm
know what?
starting
I
that
still,
next week.
I didn't
Don't
much
ruin it.
like, I didn't much like
Oh, you're
as a, I
watching
didn't
Death
much
Note?
I'm
like,
going to.
Oh,
like
guys.
as a character.
He hasn't watched Death Note yet.
It's on my. I'm going to start like in the nearest.
I'm not going to
future.
spoil anything.
Okay.
I'm not
Keep
going to
going.
spoil anything that you wouldn't know already. Like,
Basic
Well,
knowledge.
we already spoiled a big
Oh.
character death.
I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure
No,
everyone,
my friends already complained about that because they told me to watch this, and then they went on that big long tangent about how much it sucked after this person died. I'm
Yes.
like, guys, you just told me to watch.
Sorry, I didn't.
I'm guilty of
But no,
doing that sometimes.
I don't like.
Yeah.
I really don't like Light as a character. It's because he starts out likable, and then no,
Yeah.
I understand that
Then he's just
he develops.
detestable.
Yeah, I know he develops a god complex, and I know that's great.
That's to be expected.
But he gets to
cool
the
character
point
arc.
where it's just like, okay, you know what? No, you started off as a human being. You're still a human being, and that's what's the problem is now. You're not. It's not like he's just become like he doesn't understand humanity anymore. It's just that he's a giant douchebag.
he is.
No, I agree, and it's interesting you bring that up because he is a character that can't really emotionally connect with that much either. You really hate him more than you like him,
Unless you hate
But
humans.
for me, I enjoy Death Note and I enjoy watching that because Light is really charismatic and he's interesting to watch. Him do all of his crazy plans and schemes. To do the evil things that he's doing. I can watch that and enjoy him more as a protagonist than I can for Fusei because he's also detached and you can't really connect with him emotionally that much. But then except for his moments of awesome actionness at the end of the movie, there's really not much that interesting about him.
That's just it though. The whole planning thing with Light, that's great, but I never really found him all that charismatic. He's a good liar, but more
He's
often
very
than not,
two-faced, very
oh yes, he's
multi-faced.
He's an exceptionally good liar. The problem with Light though is that when it comes right down to it, his megalomania. I like some megalomania, but the problem is his gets to the point where it's no longer like I like megalomania as a parody. It's kind of uncomfortable watching him because it's kind of like it's narcissism and its most
But he's
detestable
very
form.
narcissistic. in
Oh,
the
yeah.
end.
Well, what's interesting about that is I've heard some people say that at least at the beginning, they actually sort of could understand why Light was doing what he's doing, killing all the criminals in the world to try to make it a better place. But I think it's pretty telling when the very first episode, your main character says, and I will become the god of this new world. Like, yep, he's a good guy.
I see the path he's chosen.
Now, getting the other one, LaDouche the Rebellion. I don't much care for LaDouche.
Yes.
I was hoping the entire time that he would fail and die because you know what? Yeah, the whole world he's rallying against, it's bad, but it's just as bad, if not worse. So I can't root for him because he's the underdog. Feel bad for him. No, he's a terrible person.
With a magic eye.
That's what really bothered me. The real reason that half of his plans worked is because he had magical powers.
Well, yeah.
Well, it also
that's a
it
pretty
was
good
also not an ultimate power. He could only use it one person, which I thought was a really good point.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's a
mean,
good way to-
whenever you create a power in a show, like whether it's alchemy in Full Metal Alchemist, or even like the powers in Dragon Ball Z that are just completely ridiculous.
Let's not get into that second one.
They have to include some sort of restrictions, or else it just doesn't make sense.
Or else you
I was
become
about to say
Superman.
though, there is
Yeah.
it's not the power itself that bothers me. It's the fact that he uses it like kind of ridiculously at times.
Well, I agree, but I think that's part of the idea. Like he's
Yuffie.
everybody, he's able to accomplish all these things and perform these miracles and help this resistance group grow, all because he's got this power and he's smart and he's able to use the two to his advantage.
Also, the whole I like the don't get me wrong, I don't mind that he's smart. The problem is though, he gets to the point like, oh, I'm so smart, I'm so smart, I'm so smart, I'm so smart. I can solve every problem ever. I'm so smart, I'm so smart. Oh my God, I don't care anymore.
and then
For God's sakes,
like,
fail already.
the part where he does feel like he's on top of the world, but that's when his power starts going out of control, and that's when he, spoiler alert, accidentally controls his cousin.
No,
Yuffie?
sister.
His sister's not only. What's Yuffie? Yuffie's related to him somehow.
Well, she'd be his half sister because
Yeah.
they say they're the same dad. At
all
least.
right, so he makes her kill all the Japanese accidentally, which made me very
Accidentally kill
Well,
all of the Japanese.
sad. Well, he didn't mean to.
That's a little uncomfortable.
Scarlet
His
Witch and-
his eye went out of control and he couldn't. That was like
Yeah.
a turning point when he realized, oh, I'm not completely in control.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool, though. Keep in mind.
I have a question. This is all Death Note, and this sounds awesome. Why have I not watched this show?
What, Code
Yeah.
Geass?
Oh no, now we're on to something. Oh, yeah,
Wait,
I
wait.
lost.
Were you talking about Death Note or
yeah.
Code
Code
Geass?
I was talking about Death Note. I thought we were still talking about Death Note.
No,
that
it
was
was
Code
Code
Geass.
Geass.
That was
We
Code
did all
Geass.
Japan.
Oops.
Oh,
Yeah.
That sounds like in
Both are
Marvel,
really
so-
good.
Both are good.
Yeah, I mean, well, Light's trying to kind of do that at the end.
And
Ah,
I'll try not to spoil it because at some point I would actually like to do Code Geass for the podcast. But there's a bit near the beginning
Hiss.
where he outsmarts another character who has this similar sort of Geass magic power by using like a
Wow.
video screen and tricking him by like pre-recording a message.
That was one
And
of
then-
my favorite episodes.
I do like that episode a lot. And then he does the same thing later on against a different villain. And the first time he does it, it actually somewhat makes sense. Like the answers he's able to predict are somewhat reasonable. But in the second time around, it's just like he just has like future foresight powers of a god.
He basically becomes a Mary Sue by the later episodes.
To an extent, because near the end of R2, he falls pretty far and fails pretty spectacularly, and it seems like everything's crashing around him. And
Well, then he
manages
realizes that, and then
Right.
he uses it against. Well, he uses it kind of to his advantage.
right. He manages
but-
to build himself back up from that and accomplish his plan in the end.
Wait, we're still talking about what?
Code Geass.
So,
Okay, making
yes.
sure.
Okay.
Anyways, back to Jin-Roh the
Back
Wolf
to
Brigade.
Jin-Roh.
Oh, that's what we were doing.
Yes. What was it? Oh, one other thing I'd read that I thought was interesting was apparently this film is sort of a response to some of the sort of political stuff going on in Japan around that time. Because apparently there was like this group, like the Liberal Democrat Party. They ruled Japan from like 1995 to 2009, like with very little opposition. And apparently the whole Wolf Brigade thing was supposed to be sort of an allegory for them and how, you know, this party in Japan in general had sort of become so nonconformist that they would just listen to anything that the leader sort of commanded them to do or whatever.
That would be conformist, not nonconformist.
Or yeah, conformist, sorry.
So I was gonna say, wow, that's pretty interesting. Nonconformist.
Yeah, and there was all this stuff about like some political rallies that were going on in like I think in the 70s or 60s that Miyazaki, Isao Takahata, and Mamoru Oshii, they were all like a part of it, and of course they all went on to become great anime directors later.
So being a protester makes you a great anime director.
Yes,
I'll keep that in
Good
mind.
to know.
that's
gonna
what that
say.
tells us.
If you're Japanese, I guess.
So yeah, I guess overall, what are your guys' thoughts? For me personally, I enjoyed the movie. I think it's a good film. You know, I can appreciate more complex, you know, political, darker movies. I thought the animation was great, but I did have some definite problems with the characters. You know, I did get a bit lost because of the complex plot. Part of that was because we talked over the beginning, so that confused all of us a little bit who hadn't seen it before, which was our fault. So overall, I'd say it's a good movie, but it's not one of my not one of my favorites.
I would say, like I said earlier, I know now we can obviously sort of pretty much been spoiled. The reason I loved the movie and what really, really made me like it in the end, like this is what set it over as a great movie for me, was the fact that at the end, the leader gave the choice like, hey, kill her because she's the last tie to them, make them think we have her for, you know, all of our power, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, let's go one of two ways. Obviously, he could kill her, or what I was thinking they might lean toward is show humanity, saves her life, but later on they show he would have died anyways if he'd done that. So the fact he actually shot her and killed her and went through with it, I really liked. I'm like, the fact he still did it, stood to what he believed in, and like, ended it there.
And one thing that sort of did strike me is like I understand that it was the most effective way to know for certain that their plans wouldn't be discovered was to kill her, but really they could have just captured her and kept her locked away and let her live. You know,
That would be harder.
it would be harder.
That
It could have been done though, but obviously
but
they
why
weren't.
do it if it's harder?
Yeah, that would show more humanity again.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Yeah,
Finishing right
so,
there.
I guess I just like
Must
movies
be.
with more humanity. That's what I've learned.
We have an inhumane meter, and we have to keep it pretty high up there. So
Yeah.
Andrew?
All right. Let's see here. What do I think about this? I liked it a lot. As a movie, the problem with the main character, and I know we keep talking about this, how he never shows any emotion, and he's very stoic and very passive during the movie. But he really was suffering from PTSD at some point because he was seeing this stuff. So he really was having those issues. And I thought that was going to be like some cool death. And then it kind of like drops off halfway through the movie. And they don't ever talk about him having PTSD again. And what else? When the first time you watch it, you kind of do get kind of bored with his scenes because he's just standing there, staring off in space, showing no emotion, and you get bored with him as a character. You're like, no, go back to the political intrigue and all of that because you get bored of watching. I'm sure if when you watch it again, and I'll probably watch it again at some point. I'll be more interested in it, but the first time you watch it, you're just like, just
move along.
You're staring off into space. I'm not here to watch you stare off into space.
Yeah.
I don't know. But otherwise, I don't know. I give it a solid B. I guess I liked it. It was good.
Yeah. Actually, you brought up two things that I think are interesting. One is just that the movie is slow and pace wise, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It lets them sort of build this relationship as well as all the politics and all that. It does sort of make the film a little bit boring at the beginning, which I think that they solve partially by making the first sequence this riot, and it's like, okay, this is sort of an action-packed thing. It makes you interested in what's going on. And then the second thing was, you mentioned the dream sequence and his sort of post-traumatic stress disorder stuff. The dream sequence was what really made me think of it like Satoshi Kon, because he does a lot of that stuff with dreams and fantasy. And not only was it sort of cool from that perspective, it was really bloody. Like when the wolves are going,
yeah, that's right.
When it's tearing her apart, it's like, whoa, we just went really violent here.
So we went there.
Oh.
Yes. Clara, what were your overall opinions?
I'm probably going to have to watch it again to fully understand what's going on. But from what I do understand, I liked it. Like what you said, he is a very, does not show a lot of emotions, and that made it hard for me to kind of like him as a character, I guess, just because I like connecting with characters and kind of picking a side, picking characters that are my favorites. But my only favorite character died in the first 10 minutes of the movie. I liked the girl character. I'm like, oh, look at her being all sneaky and stuff in her red coat.
Oh,
and
you rogue.
You poor kid. I felt bad for her. I thought she was going to be the main character, and I was really sad when she died. And I was like, oh, now
Don't worry,
what?
she's an angel now.
Oh, dear. But, okay, Bioshock. But, I liked the movie. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I just don't like war movies in general, but I liked it. I really did.
Mm-hmm. And Jeremy?
All right. I know I made a comment about Fuse being a really good actor, but the more I've had time to mull it over, what I really think happened was it's not actually that he's suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. It's actually what's going on. Now, if you notice, some of the earlier flashbacks, no, I take that back. No, all the flashbacks that you see of him after, during the training sequence, that's not to the younger girl. It's to the older one that looks like her. Mm-hmm. What's going on is that Fuse actually believes he's fighting, his humanity is fighting against his more animalistic side. When it finally goes away, when he stops having these things, is when he finds out that the girl is actually is an agent for the police force. Mm-hmm. That's when it finally goes away. Is when he knows that he's getting played.
Well, but at the very end, he still is crying and he's struggling.
Because he doesn't exactly. He's still struggling against it. But up until that point, all he thinks is that
No, I don't think that's true though, because it's after he saves her from the museum place. That's when they're at the carnival that they were at earlier, and it's nighttime. And she's cold, and she puts the coat over her shoulders, and they kiss, and that's the most romantic part of the movie, and that's after he learned that she was this double agent.
Yeah, I understand that, but remember though, after he finds the pictures though, it's great that he's still trying to connect to his human side, but he's pretty much all but given it up at that point, because you thought he was dark and deadpan before. He gets darker, but this is the other thing I really noticed. He gets more action-oriented all of a sudden after he sees those pictures. Because does anybody else remember that escape scene?
It was pretty intense.
You mean when he was just beating up all the guys?
Yeah, he drops the gun and it goes off and everything.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
All of a sudden, he went from being like this normal person to, an animal.
Okay, he's like a streamlined killer. He was so good at taking those guys down. It was ridiculous.
He went from
Like
being just some
law-abiding
soldier
citizen.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
to Sam Fisher. I mean, God.
What was interesting was I thought like he was going up and like knocking the guys out or whatever when he was fighting him. I was like, oh, look at that. He's he's not actually killing them. Maybe he actually cares somewhat about them. And it's like
Nope,
at the end of
stealth
the movie,
No.
nope,
Stealth kill. It's
he
quieter.
doesn't care at all.
It's like Deus Ex. It's quieter when you knock them out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not because I want them to live. It's because I don't want to be shot.
Gotcha. All right. So overall, I know you're the one who advocated for us to watch this movie in the first place, so you really like it a lot.
Indeed.
Indubitably.
Suffice to say.
Definitely.
All right. Very good. I figured, so next time we do the podcast, which will be episode 16, because it'll be after Matt's crew goes, we'll be talking about Fate Zero. We established that last time. I was thinking, though, that we could cover what we want to do for the podcast after that, because I was talking with Matt about it to try to get scheduling figured out for the two podcast, and what we're thinking is after we do the Fate Zero podcast 2 weeks from now, the week after we'll do another Thursday podcast on like a movie of some sort, and then we'll be able to get to the alternating weeks where we go 1 week on Thursday and then they go the next week on Tuesday and we go, and we're on alternating weeks, so we need to fix that right now because right now we're on the same week. And yes, I do like hand motions, Jeremy. You're correct. So
what do you think we should see?
well,
Cowboy
what were some of the
Bebop.
ones? Well, but we're thinking of a movie because that's a movie or something very short, a very short TV series because it's only going to be a
We
week.
could watch Perfect Blue. I mean,
What? You don't like Perfect Blue?
I'm not a fan.
I wouldn't mind watching something from Satoshi Kon. Or we've talked about doing Summer Wars, which the library does own, and that's really
I
good.
want to
That'd be
see
cool.
that because I heard the synopsis. I'm like, that sounds awesome. I want to watch
I have
that.
no idea what it's about, but it sounds cool.
Do you know what I think we should do?
What?
We haven't done a movie like this yet. I know it's a movie I can almost guarantee everyone at this table has seen.
What's that?
Pokemon 2000.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I like
could
that.
live with that.
Actually, I think I.
We do like Mewtwo Strikes Back. I haven't seen that.
Well,
one
can we
yet.
do the Digimon movie? That sounds fun.
I'm not as
Digimon.
much into Digimon.
I'd have to rewatch Digimon though. To
I
get
love
the movie.
Digimon.
Yeah, same.
I actually went to
I
the
actually do wanna
Athens
rewatch
Public
Digimon.
Library recently.
What?
They actually have,
Whoa.
I think they have Pokemon 2000. However, it's a VHS copy.
Oh my gosh,
Damn
are
it.
you serious?
Aw.
Yeah.
Ancient technology.
Well, I
You
will
vex
find
us.
if I can find us a copy. Will
Well,
you do it?
I think it's on YouTube.
I can find it online.
So-
Yeah.
I apologize if someone else wanted to see something else, but I feel like we haven't done one of
Wait,
these yet.
okay, so
I'm up for Pokemon.
I'm good for Pokemon,
I
but
could
do
do
we
that.
want to do 2000? Do we want to do the original? Which one?
I feel like the original was really bad.
2000, definitely
That-
2000.
The original wasn't.
Oh yes,
bad.
2000 was better,
Maybe
though.
maybe I just remember. Maybe I just don't remember as well.
Well, 2000 was better than
Nostalgia.
those two movies, in my opinion. So
Well, actually, I saw somebody on thatguywiththeglasses.com did a review of it recently. It's not quite as good as I remember it being.
Which
based
first
on
one?
that
Which
review.
one?
The tears.
2000.
The tears
Well,
that cure everybody.
well, there's that.
Oh,
but,
that's the
but
first
I'm
one.
talking about 2000. Like that one's better than the original, I think. But
But
even
still.
it has some pretty cliche
Well,
problems.
I mean, it was a
to
kids
it.
movie, so it's
Yeah.
to be expected.
I don't know. That ending was pretty great.
Yeah, that
With
was,
Slow
Well,
King essentially just
I
going,
love Slow
hey,
King.
hey guys, what? No one's gonna ever know we were the heroes. They will.
Fourth wall broken.
Thanks, Slow King. Thanks. I didn't want them to see me.
Yeah, seriously, Duck.
No, what they pointed out was basically, you know how all the Pokemon in the world are like coming together to this spot, to witness this big battle.
To make the spirit bomb.
They're supposed to.
This is the final battle.
they're supposed to be there to like assist in any way they can, and they just sit there. They don't do anything.
What are they supposed to do?
Well, the water Pokemon could
Be
help.
Pokemans.
You know,
the flying ones
Or
could
wha-
do stuff.
Why
Yeah.
did they come all the way there just to watch?
It's like the World Cup for them. They just
Yeah.
go to watch and get the food.
Why-
Okay,
okay,
In
here,
case
let me ask you a
they
question.
needed to help, they didn't need
Why
to
do
help.
people? Why do people in California make the trip out to Florida to go watch the Super Bowl?
and not help with the field.
oh, okay. So this was like the Super Bowl for Pokemon.
Yeah. Did you not
By
see
the way,
it? There was this huge
Alex,
fight scene, and then
What?
Luke
I have
showed
another
up, he's like,
theme for us to sing.
What's that?
I'll tell you later.
All right. I'll let you tell me later. So Pokemon 2000 then, is that the consensus?
Or at least a Pokemon movie.
Let's
One
do
of
it.
the Pokemon
Pokemon
movies.
I know
could
my
live with
friend
that.
has the second movie that has Mewtwo in it. Is that Mewtwo Strikes Back?
Yes.
Yeah.
He has that one.
That movie exists.
Yeah,
Yep.
I
that
read,
was a movie.
I read the book of
what was
it
the
when
one
I was on
Entei?
vacation.
What was
one
that
year,
one? Was it?
but-
That was the third
that's
one,
the
right?
third one.
What was that one called?
I've never seen
Is
it.
it the one with
It was.
Cels?
I don't remember anything
It's
about
the
that
one with
movie.
unknown in it. But I
No,
can't-
Pikachu's Vacation
Uh,
was the best one.
Oh god,
That's
I
a
love
mini
that.
movie.
Yeah, I
One
love
was
that
so
movie.
adorable
What
though.
was
Did
that-
it save
what was
Charizard?
Entei's?
What was that movie called? Because I don't remember
Can't
anything from that
remember.
movie. I just
Okay.
remember him being really
Entei's
angry.
Final Countdown.
I have to say this now because I watched it was a little clip on YouTube. It was Brock's funniest line in Pokemon or something
Make
like
a
that.
frying pan. A drying pan.
That's from Pokemon Strikes Back.
Oh my
It's from that
God.
movie.
I want to
Strikes
see
Back.
it now. Because that
Mewtwo-
line's my
Mewtwo
favorite.
Strikes Back. So, okay, we'll
Brock's
do a
a genius.
Pokemon movie. We'll figure out which one it is later.
All right.
But
Pokemon.
so 2 weeks from now we'll do Fate Zero, and 3 weeks from now it'll be a Pokemon movie. of some
Oh,
sort.
so
Pokemon.
It's gonna be
Pokemans.
awesome. We already sang the theme song on like the very first podcast, but we may have to do it again.
Yes.
No, the Pokemon theme song.
Oh, she's so.
All right. Very good. So if you've enjoyed this podcast, you can email us at techheads@avwproductions.com.
Yes, sir.
Follow us on Twitter at techheadsou. Kenny, stop trying to ruin my spiel, man.
I'm trying to give. I'm interjecting.
You can go on avwproductions.com to read the Tech Heads blog. We've got all sorts of cool stuff on there. You should subscribe to us on iTunes. Give us some good ratings and reviews. We love that. Kenny, what is your Twitter?
Oh, Kenneth _McNulty.
All right, Andrew?
I don't have a Twitter. So
Gas. Clara?
no.
Mine's Clara Lillian.
And Jeremy doesn't have one. And were you going to say something, Jeremy? I'm sorry.
No.
And mine is Darth Schmitz.
Yes,
Nobody
it's
ever
awesome.
uses it.
It is a cool voice. All right. So this has been a good podcast, even though we sidetracked a bit, but it was all good at the end of the day.
We digress.
It's all good.
Exactly. So thank
It
you
was
very
relevant.
Yes. Thank you very much for listening to this Shredded Cells episode 14. We will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Space Cowboys.
This product is copyright AVW Productions 2012.